is the point guard that came out of Iowa. And one thing is clear, and I warned you before the season started. I warned you. I said, they will hate on her again. Last year, we came out that rookie year where they tried to beat the crap out of Caitlin Clark. She played 13 games last year. We had like 3 or 4 or 5 incidents in 13 games. The other night, this was the
question worth asking out loud is simple. What exactly is happening with the players in this league? Because the situation has reached a point where alleged threats toward the biggest draw the WNBA has ever had are apparently being welcomed rather than condemned. Let's be direct about the reality here. The $3 billion media rights deal spanning 11 years, the new CBA, the surge in attendance and viewership. She is the engine behind the league's current financial standing, full stop. This was warned before the season even tipped off. The pattern was going to repeat.
In games. The other night, this was the, and by the way, Caitlin Clark is lighting this league on fire, scorching it. The other day, this happened where Tiffany Hayes got a three-pointer knocked down in her face right here, and Caitlin gave her some. She gave her some right there. Talking a little trash. You know, and Caitlin was fired up.
Last season, across just 13 games as a rookie, there were already 3, 4, maybe 5 separate ugly moments directed at Caitlin Clark. This year, she has come out scorching, playing at an elite level, setting the league on fire. And the noise around her has somehow gotten louder and darker. The specific incident in question involved Tiffany Hayes hitting a three-pointer, getting a little celebration thrown back at her by Clark, who was clearly fired up. Players talk trash during games. That's basketball. That has always been basketball. The idea that a player cannot handle a competitive response in the middle of a game is a troubling sign for where things stand culturally in this league.
You know, and Caitlin was fired up. And players talk trash to each other all the time. All the time. Right here. Yeah. Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Are these players so weak that they cannot handle this kind of thing? That they just literally can't deal with it? This is gross.
What followed on social media is where things turned genuinely alarming. A post surfaced, allegedly from Hayes, where a fan essentially offered to ride at dawn on her behalf, suggesting backup was available if needed. The response to that post, again allegedly from Hayes, was, "That's real. That's real," paired with a laughing emoji, co-signing language that sounds like a threat. Against another player, in a professional sports league. That's not competitive fire.
If this is all real, Kathy Engelbert got to step way into this shit. She's got to go foot to ass. Because it looks like you got a player that's co-signing violence against Caitlin Clark. It's what it looks like.
That's something else entirely. The WNBA spent energy rolling out a No Space for Hate campaign, but the honest read on that initiative is that it was aimed at critics and online commentators rather than actual player safety. It had nothing to do with players protecting one another professionally or carrying themselves with accountability. That much appears obvious now. The league commissioner needs to come down hard on this. A statement from the Golden Valkyries organization is overdue. The coaching staff has questions to answer about what culture is being cultivated behind the scenes.
We got a player that's co-signing violence against Caitlin Clark. It's what it looks like. This is pathetic. At WNBA players should not be interacting on social media with fans, joking about causing player harm. Look, we could get to that too, because why are these players so worried about what's going on social media? Why are they worried about YouTubers and comments on X and any of this? You don't see this from other sports. I don't get it. Is it because they didn't make
Comparisons to the New Orleans Saints' infamous bounty scandal are being made. And at this point, those comparisons aren't entirely out of left field. The danger with language like "cousins that ride at dawn" is not just the words themselves. It's that somewhere out there, someone unstable enough might actually act on that energy. That is not a dramatic reading of the situation. That is the realistic concern when public figures with large, passionate followings appear to sanction hostility toward a specific individual. Nobody in the general public actually cares about Hayes in any meaningful way here. The fuel behind all of this is pure, simple resentment toward Clark. If a fine can be handed out for questioning officiating decisions, then co-signing fan threats of physical harm should carry a suspension at minimum.
didn't make any money for so long? What are y'all doing? I talk shit because you're never on my teams, but I was ready to support your crash out. Laugh out loud, that's fair. This is Tiffany Hayes right here. Allegedly. I'm always going to throw allegedly in, but I mean, y'all know. Your composure was much better than mine. I would have been, I'll tell you that.
The math on that is not complicated. A straight-up professional code exists in every other major sport. Situations like this one do not surface in the NFL. They don't come up in the NBA. Something about this league's ecosystem keeps producing these moments. Whether it's years of financial frustration, ideological friction, or something deeper. And nobody in a position of authority appears ready to actually address it with seriousness. The physical toll on Clark's body from last season was documented and visible. The league did very little.
Much better than mine. I would have been, I'll tell you that. My growth is a gift and curse, but mostly a gift. Well, we're going to show your lack of growth here in a second. We were ready to take up collections if they try to find you and everything. My peeps. Well, this is where it took a turn. This is where it took a turn. Listen, I got some cousins we don't speak about that will ride at dawn upon request. Just let me know.
Whether anything gets done this time around remains the central question. The expectation, based on how things have gone so far, is not encouraging. Caitlin Clark is almost certainly heading toward a league fine after her latest comments directed at the officiating crew. The remarks were about as straightforward a violation as the WNBA rulebook could present. There is very little room to argue otherwise. Now, in terms of dollar impact, a standard league fine is not going to put any real dent in Clark's finances. Her endorsement deals alone dwarf whatever number the WNBA puts on paper, but the fine itself?
Request, just let me know I got you. Laugh out loud, which is what that emoji is. That's real. Really? You're co-signing this? That's real. And I'm going to tell you, the old fandom, This is wild. Guys, I mean, I've been
It is happening. That part is not really up for debate. The thing is, based on how she said it, Clark was not calculating consequences. The money simply does not register as a deterrent at this point. What she said was essentially a thank you to the crowd for getting on the officials. Fans were booing the refs. Knowns, and Clark acknowledged it openly and appreciatively. That is a clear-cut breach of league conduct rules.
We appreciate it. Thanks for going the refs. We like that, but overall, thank you guys. The grit, the relentlessness, and
Like, she literally said thanks for booing the refs. I think she said thanks for going at the refs, but like, yes, she said thanks for booing the refs. Look, I'm a massive, obviously, Caitlin Clark fan. But it's fine. This is the most cut and dry, obvious.
To put it in context, Sophie Cunningham was hit with a fine just for making a comment on a podcast. She suggested that Paige Buchers gets favorable treatment from referees. That was enough. So publicly encouraging crowd hostility toward officials is obviously going to land in the same or worse territory. The refereeing on the day was genuinely questionable, though. Clark was being fouled repeatedly, with minimal calls going her way, and at one point received a foul call herself on a play where contact was barely made, right after absorbing a clear hack the possession before. The Golden State Valkyries, of all teams, are not really in a position to complain about physical play either.
It's fine. This is the most cut and dry, obvious, yes, this is a fine offense I think we've seen. It is unfortunate that is the case, that obviously that she probably will be fine, but like Sophie Cunningham got fined on a podcast for saying the refs, you can't, Paige Beckers has a special whistle. She got fined for saying that. So obviously,
their roster has a player, Ludo, who has racked up an alarming number of opponent injuries. The argument has been made that at this stage, every time that player injures someone, a one-game suspension should follow automatically. No drawn-out process, just a simple one-game consequence. But back to the officiating, the crowd frustration was understandable. When a player is literally holding up her arm and showing the referee a fresh mark from a foul that went uncalled, that tells a story on its own. And any official who has worked a game knows what that moment feels like.
Obviously, thanking the fans for booing the refs is going to be a fine. How much, whatever the minimum fine that you can give is, that's probably what it's going to be. Still going to be that. Someone said, I want to know how much they fine her after this game. Thanks for booing the refs. Like, that is, the refs sucked yesterday. Like, it's a mad one that Golden State were like, oh, if they actually call fouls on Caitlin Clark, she'd be fouled out. Like, I mean this when I say.
As for a flagrant foul fine on top of everything else, that is not coming. That conversation does not need to go far. In the NBA, the equivalent gesture or comment gets players fined upward of $100,000. The WNBA minimum is considerably lower, likely somewhere around the $500 to $1,000 range. Last season, the Indiana Fever were practically treating their fines as content. Clark would show up to press availability, pointing people to her social posts and noting which one got flagged.
It is like Caitlin Clark was literally, she was making very little contact. She made very little contact. In fact, she got called for a phantom foul. Like, she did get called herself for a complete phantom foul after getting hacked the previous possession. I don't think the Valks can say anything. Like, of all teams, they are the team more than anyone that is like their own borderline. I'm not gonna say they're Thunder.
It became almost routine. This season, the expectation is that her total fine tally will land somewhere in the tens of thousands. The amounts are not crushing, but they are starting to add up into something more noticeable than last year. The broader tension here is that when officiating is genuinely poor, players and fans are going to react. Encouraging that reaction publicly crosses the line the league has drawn. But the underlying frustration that leads to that moment is also real and worth acknowledging. The two things can both be true at once.
They're Thunder. They're not like they don't employ Lou Dort. Like they don't employ like a man who has injured. Like it might actually be. Is it in double digits the amount of players Lou Dort is injured? Like that man should not be. Like there's genuinely, I think every time he injures somebody, it should be a suspension. At this stage, it should be a suspension. It doesn't have to be anything, just like a 1-game suspension. Every time Lou Dort injures somebody, 1-game suspension. Something simple like that. Like it is. It's one of these things where, obviously, like the when it comes down to it, the ref sucked, and clearly, obviously, fans are getting into it. But like, you can't thank the fans for booing the refs and not expect some form of repercussion. Like again, it is going to expect some form of repercussion. Like again, it is going to be a €1,000 fine, but like, you still can't do it. I'm going to be real, or $1,000 fine. He still can't. I wish you could, but you can't. And yeah, so Caitlin's fines this year could be high. Like she actually could be fined quite a decent chunk of change this year. Like my expectation is we're going to probably see Caitlin's fines be in the what do I reckon the range of her fines? See Caitlin's fines be in the what do I reckon the range of her fines are going to be? I would say she's probably going to get fined. She'll be fined in the tens of thousands this year, minimum. I think she probably wasn't, like fined that much, less than 10K last year. Like, but like last year was hilarious. She would just be in press conferences, being like, or she'd be there before the game in like practice, being like, look at my last tweet. The refs I got fined